Hey gardeners, hope you're all having a wonderful week in your gardens this week. We are out about in our alleyway gardens. It's a nice day today, so I'm gonna sow out some seeds that we've got, some pea seeds here. We're gonna do a little bit of weeding and planning a little bit more about what we're gonna do out here in our outdoor alleyways in this week's Garden Journal. So, all right, before we go outside, I just wanted to show you all real quick here, right at the top of the video. Last week's video, we sowed out these pepper seeds, and we've literally just over the last week seen sprouts already in each of our trays. Plus, I did get those seeds that I ordered from Baker Creek already in the mail and sown out, so these will be not too far behind them. But now that we've got some sprouts that are coming out of our trays, I'm gonna go ahead and remove all of these plastic lids and kind of helping keeping them nice and warm, but I don't want any like fungus or any other thing to start growing on them. Oh, come off there. So yeah, now that we've seen some sprouts and all of that growing up here out of our trays, they're well on their way. I'm also gonna take our adjustable chain here and we're gonna lower all of our lights so they're nice and low and right almost on top of all of our seedlings coming up so that they get nice and short and stocky. We don't want our seedlings to be tall and leggy. So this is a good way to do that with all your seedlings. These lights aren't that powerful as we talked about before, but they will give a good enough light if you get them right up and close and keeping them growing just right. Plus what we're going to do too is I'll have the fan turned on intermittently. We'll have it run for about 10 minutes or so, a couple times an hour, and that there will also help those stems get nice and strong and grow some really good strong roots there on all of our pepper starts. So looking good, growing good. So let's go check out what we've got growing on outside. All right, getting our hands dirty now. All right. So, all right, got some weeding done here. Really needed to get that taken care of there because back here, as you can see, we've got all of these tulips that are coming up. Don't quite see flower heads yet trying to come up out of there yet, but the plants are definitely growing. But my intention this year was to kind of fill in some gaps that were made by the construction of the fence and having to tear some of these up last year. So we got this big gap here as well too. So I'm gonna go get some already live tulip plants from one of my garden centers, kind of fill in that gap there so that we got a nice full one. and it'll definitely look a lot better next year, but at least we'll fill that in there and have our nice tulips that we get to see each and every spring. But also I wanted to show you here too, one of the things we did this last fall is collected all of our leaves and topped off each of our growing beds with some mulched up leaves. As you can see, these things are pretty much breaking down there too. So, I mean, the soil's just right there underneath of them now. This was all piled up nice and tall and thick. And so they've been breaking down really nicely. And so what I'm going to do today, because the weather's warming up just a little bit here, so I think it's a perfect time for us to get started with planting out and sowing out some peas. So we'll just kind of move some of this stuff back here and start sowing out some peas. Now, I've already picked out a couple of varieties of peas, and what I did is I put them into a jar of some water to soak overnight, so that they got a nice good soaking before we planted them in here, and that way it'll just give our seeds a really good head start, and hopefully they'll grow really, really well. So I'm gonna get in there and get those started up, and we'll check out the rest of what we got growing on around here. So now this time of year is a great time to be thinking about your cooler, cold season crops that you can be growing. Next week I'll be weeding out and getting some of the elevated raised beds that we have back there all weeded and ready to go, and we'll sow out some of our lettuces and greens and spinaches. And then in the next week or so, we'll also get started with our soil blocks and start sowing out some of our brassicas and all of these things that are really going to enjoy some of this cooler weather that we're still having as we're moving towards the end of winter. Seeing as how it's our first day really outdoors, checking out some of these spaces, I thought it'd be kind of fun to get out and at least get our peas started, as I mentioned. So we did soak our peas overnight so that we have them all kind of hydrated and ready to go in the soil, and hopefully they'll germinate really fast. And then as they get established, they're going to really enjoy the cool nights and this warming weather as we're starting again to get towards spring, as we're heading into late winter right now for us here in our garden. So all we're going to do is in our trench here just kind of create maybe about a 1/2 inch deep row here, and then just nice and simply we're gonna take our seeds out of the water and just start planting them about 1 every 4 inches. In fact, you know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put 2 every 4 inches, and then we'll just cover those right up there. And in a couple of weeks, when these are coming up and I can see where we've got our plants coming up, we'll then cut back to 1 plant every 4 inches. And then what I'll do then is I'll plant another row with the remaining seed that we have left in between each of the plants, so that we have a nice fresh row that'll grow about 2 weeks later. And that way we'll have tons and tons of peas to harvest throughout the season. So all right, there we go. Got some peas all sown out here. Should have some plants popping up here within the next week or so. And like I said, then we'll just plant some new ones right after that. And we'll have plenty of peas coming up here in the season. But now I got to start thinking about the rest of what's going on here in our garden spaces. As you can see here, we're already starting to see some growth here on our peach tree. Or no, this is our pear tree. Sorry. These are the pears. Lots and lots of blooms looking there too. So I just hope that those could hold on, because we got some really fluctuating early warm weather this year. So that's why I'm seeing a lot of growth right now. We should probably not see this for a little while longer. So I'm hoping things will be all right when it comes to our fruiting trees, because we're again just having these newer and weirder weather patterns that are happening. We broke records this last January as far as warm weather, even though we're still getting some cool nights. What's going on, George? You just enjoying it out here? Yeah, right next to your catnip. Yeah, seeing just a little bit of awakening here too in our fig tree. So yeah, I got some weeding to do here, some cleaning up. And again, all of our beds looking good, all covered up with our leaves that we had there. I've got some cool trellises that I got from our friend Wendy Fan at the Heirloom Exposition this last year anyways. And we'll be putting those in here as I get this cleaned up and reorganized. And look at all of these calendula. Just hundreds and hundreds of calendula plants are popping up everywhere. So we're definitely going to be weeding out some of those. Of course, we'll let some of them continue to grow. We love some of those plants. We started growing a couple of years ago. But yeah, again, too, just lots of work to do here as we're getting ready to get our season started. And look at all these flowers too, just popping up early. These, in fact, there's some here that are actually starting to die off that have been around for several weeks now. In fact, again, like I said, with that really warm, record-breaking January, that really confused a lot of our flowers, and they're already up and blooming. So we've got tons of tulips and everything. Some already bloomed, some going to be blooming here real soon. And we still got several weeks to go until spring is here. But yeah, it's time to get working. It's time to get growing. I do have this one issue right here. Speaking of cats, George has a friend here. He's usually good at keeping a lot of the other alley cats away, but we've got this black and white tuxedo cat, just a big chunky cat too. And he comes around and he has been digging around here. This is something I've worked on with George for a long time now already, to ensure that he's not bothering a lot of our growing beds. But because him and this other cat seem to have friended up, it looks like I've got some issues to deal with that other cat. So we'll be figuring that out here real soon, as we're also going to be getting this cleared up. And this is our herb garden here, and just getting all this stuff ready to go. Look at that. Nice fresh parsley there too. Smells good. Got some of our garlic chives and our different mints and things are getting ready to start growing and filling those pots again. Strawberries. Oh, I can't wait. But we got a lot of pruning, weeding, cleaning up, and lots of things to get done here in the next coming weeks. And look here too, we've got pretty much the same thing going on with our peach tree too. One of our favorite container trees here in our garden. And it's starting to put out lots and lots of little blooms already. Like I said, I'm just worried that the weather is going to ruin our crop this year, but hopefully we'll see something good come out of them. But yeah, just a little worrisome. So, all right, that should about do it for us today. Something nice and easy. But like I said, I'm going to try my best to make sure we're getting up some sort of weekly garden journal here so that you can follow along with all of the things that we have got growing on in all of our different growing spaces. We've got a lot more coming for you this year. We've got a lot more different spaces to show you and the sort of things that we can do and you can do in your sort of spaces as well. We're all about small space, urban gardening, taking advantage of what we can to grow some of the food for ourselves, like these peas that we'll be seeing here in a few weeks. I think next week I'll take you into our back patio and talk about some of the other things that we're going to have growing on here as well. But again, thank you so much for joining with me here today, and be sure to give us a big thumbs up, hit that like button, of course subscribe if you haven't already so you can keep following along with all these garden adventures, and share with all of your garden friends and help get the word out about our urban garden spaces here on the Urban Gardener channel. And be sure to check out our Let's Get Growing show as well too. So I hope you all have a great time in your gardens, and I'll see you on our next video. All right, let's do a little intro here real quick. We just want to make it nice and quick. We're planning on this week's In the Garden. In the garden, that's not what this is. This is a garden journal. It's a garden journal. Some planning. No, that's not it. That's not what we're trying to do. That's a little too, like I said, it's got to be short and concise. What's going on, Dexter? Good to see you, dude. How you been? Little side story about our man Dexter here that I'll share with everybody. I know we're not necessarily an animal channel, but you've all seen him around if you've been watching for a while. But over the last year or two, he has actually moved himself over to my neighbor's place down the alleyway, and actually he's been going and visiting there with her since he was a little kitten. He would sneak over there, and she has a cat door, so he would sneak into her place, eat on some of the other cat's food. She has another cat there, and eat on some of the food and hang out at her place. And so she kind of, lets him stay and hang out and all of that over the last few years now. But it's been the last year or so, he's actually chosen himself to go and live there more permanently. So I only see him maybe every couple of weeks now, and she takes really good care of him. He's very well fed and taken care of, and as you can see, she actually gives him some really nice baths here and there. It gets him all nice and clean. Yeah, thanks, George. We don't need to see that. Boom, that's it right there.